Hello, and welcome back to the Tea and the Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
And today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Max series. We must not call it HBO Max.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting it's not HBO Max anymore. It's just Max. The upcoming Max series.
Yeah. Upcoming when, we don't know.
I mean, we don't even know what it's going to be called. It's a Harry Potter TV series on Max that we're going to be talking about. And this has got, Warner Brothers Discovery confirmed there's a new era coming.
I think it was confirmed in April.
It was confirmed in April, and, not much has been... It's announced. A TV series, and it's based on all 7 books about the boy wizard written by J.K. Rowling, so... Another payday for J.K.
And some fans are pissed.
Some people are annoyed. Some people are excited.
Yeah.
And most of the people who are excited is because new Harry Potter content.
Yeah.
And there's some people in there going, great, because the first 4 movies were trash.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just skipped over all the good bits.
Yeah.
And this is a deep dive into...
Well, yeah. So we're having this discussion just basically to talk about what a series might look like, I guess.
I think it's going to be much darker than the series, than the films.
Why do you say that? Because it's on HBO?
I think there's going to be a lot of, it's going to be a little bit more mature.
Yeah. I wonder, though, how do you do, the first couple of books in a more mature way?
I mean, they were kids' books, yes, but now it's the kids of Harry Potter are older, and they need to, they're our age.
Yeah.
And older.
Mm-hmm.
And they need people, they need to, create kind of it was kids stuff back when you were kids, but now, you're adults, you don't want to watch a kids thing.
I mean, personally, I am 2 ways about it. I'm a huge Harry Potter nerd, so I'm excited because of what you said. It's something Harry Potter, something new Harry Potter. But it's how do you replace the original cast? Harry, Ron, Hermione, Dumbledore, McGonagall. How do you... Snape? How do you replace these people? Hagrid?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, they haven't announced that, any of the cast of the films will be reprising their roles or even have any roles in this new series.
It's going to be new actors. They would. Yeah. Apparently, somebody asked Daniel Radcliffe if he would consider, making a cameo in it, and he said no.
Well, I mean, how are they going to do that unless it's set now? In the universes now.
I don't think they meant him as Harry Potter.
Just as someone else?
Yeah. Nah. And he was just no, I don't think so.
He might feel differently after a couple of seasons if it becomes a hit. Because what they originally were going to do, early reports had they're going to focus a season on a book.
That's what I was going to ask.
And so that's going to be 7 seasons right there of 7 books.
Yeah. I mean, they'll have more time to explore characters like Peeves.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he wasn't even in the films, was he?
No. Nearly Headless Nick featured quite a bit more in the books than he did in the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to have more time to get deeper into the story. Well, yeah,
because you've broken it down with a lot of, with a movie, you've got a lot of things to get into 2 hours,
Yeah.
With, a series, you've got an hour to do something, but you've also got, say, you've got 8 episodes, you've got 8 hours there to work with.
Yeah. Well,
and it's if you don't get it to it in episode 1, we'll get it to it in episode 2, and in episode 2, 3, 4,
That's what I was going to ask.
Whatever.
How many episodes do we think?
I'm going to say at least 8.
Like a Game of Thrones type thing?
Yeah, I'm going to say 8 episodes is good for a season, because they're all going to be an hour long.
I'm excited because HBO is good at shows. They're really good. Some of my favorite shows have been HBO series, The Sopranos, Game of Thrones. They're really good.
Yeah.
But
Sex and the City.
But I don't know how you do how you do those early books in a mature way.
Well, I'm just saying they're going to be a mature way. I mean, I'm not writing it. I'm not doing anything on it, so I don't know.
Yeah. It's like, is this gonna be like, who's the audience?
He assured, apparently the CEO of HBO and Max Content, he assured fans it's going to be a faithful adaptation.
I mean, that's awesome.
So they may just go ahead and, word for word, because I always love that when you can read the book and they've taken lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's just in the movie.
Oh, yeah. Mm.
And that's perfect. But I mean, so this faithful adaptation, he said that the CEO said it's going to run, this whole thing is going to run for like 10 consecutive years.
Okay.
He's planning this out.
Yeah.
So that would be like, so they're going to maybe, the season a book theory might be out the window, and it might be 2 seasons on one book,
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at, we have all the Harry Potter books here on our bookshelves, and I'm looking like, if we're going to do like 8 episodes a series, like the first series, let's say, based on the Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, if you're British.
Yeah. Philosophers, isn't it?
Like, how are you going to get 8 1-hour episodes out of that? It's quite a quick read, the first and second books,
Yeah, I mean,
you would have to adapt them like word for word,
Adapt them word for word, and also if J.K. Rowling is involved, I mean,
I don't know.
On some kind of creative
Do we know if
level,
she is?
may even like go, this could be a chance for her to like, I can insert a scene in here and I can insert a new thing. And,
I don't know. I think people would not
Not
be
just,
happy.
no, but make sure it doesn't mess with the timeline. It's just something that will,
something that was left on the cutting room floor.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Something that, I didn't put in the first book, but I wish I had. And I mean...
Or that editors
she
were
retroactively kind of like said that Dumbledore was gay, didn't she?
Yeah.
She said, Dumbledore was gay. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be probably hints to that.
Yeah.
In, like, across the seasons,
I mean, on the...
More so than there were in the films,
I mean, on the website that she...
Because they've got all the cast... They've got all the cast. They've got all the characters to explore. They've got Harry, Ron, Hermione. They've got all the kids like Neville and, all the like ones that, well,
that's what I was going to say. Like on the website that she would write what was it, Pottermore? She would write little like very short stories. Like she could always use those like they could use those as like flashbacks to when something happened, like, because she's got backstories for all of these characters. So if they needed to fill time, they could definitely do stuff like that. Like, show some of whoever's history, I'm excited to see like an updated version, because obviously this came out, when did the first film come out actually?
2001.
So the technology was,
let's just say, the early 2000s for CGI, for computer generated imagery in pretty much all the films. I mean, everybody makes fun of like 80s films and 90s films that had terrible CGI. It, for some reason, when it became like cheaper to use, it became terrible.
Yeah. Well, because in the 80s and 90s they used CGI, but they also
sparingly.
still had the great costumes, stunts. They had all the sets,
So
they
when
don't
it
even
became
bother
cheaper
making
to kind of
sets
use,
a lot of the times now. They completely
just green screen it.
Yeah.
But in the early 2000s it wasn't that great looking.
Yeah, I know.
So they'd spend a lot of money on it, and some guy would be like, that this is how it looks great, doesn't it? And they'd go, yes, this is perfect. It was the same with the James Bond film Die Another Day, Harry Potter, all this kind of like shows from then. Movies from then had this kind of like terrible, like, that effect is just terrible.
Well, it kind of looked like they were just in front of a green screen, Well, yeah, Harry was attached to wires on, on his broom. The scene where they're outside and they're learning to fly their brooms and everything. Oh my god.
Well, yes, because it looks like, I think at the Harry Potter studio tour in London, or maybe the Wizarding World in Florida, they've got, you can be on the thing and, you have a green screen.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It looks like you're flying, you're just going, oh.
And it looks like
and it actually does look like you're in the movie, because that's how it looked in the movie. It was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't, because they just literally had someone sit on a broom with a green screen and just go
and just think about Daenerys Targaryen on her dragons in Game of Thrones, like
that was much better. That was much better. That was much later.
No, that's what I mean. But that's what it's going to look like.
They had people come in and go, okay, to get a good green screen experience out of this, we've got to act. We can't just stand there going, oh. Well, something we have no idea about is on screen behind us, and it's kind of because the people who were going in and editing all this stuff were just like, oh yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, see, I put all this stuff behind them.
Yeah,
and it looks like, oh, and it's just kind of like, it doesn't match up with what they're doing. They look like an idiot. The actor looks like an idiot waving this thing around because he's not hitting anything, and it's just, it doesn't match up.
Mm.
Nowadays, though, they've got people who, okay, we've grown from that experience, and the first film, but the
well, even by the last film,
the last film, everything was you still have
films.
dodgy CGI effects, but now it's put down to like, oh, this was very low budget, like that SAS Sam Heughan. Oh man, I mean, it was so low budget.
It's just like
terrible. It's terrible. It's like something I could have made. Because it's just like, oh, we just don't have the money for that. We don't have the money to put in that.
Yeah. I was reading an article that was talking about when Game of Thrones was announced, because obviously it was adapted from novels also.
Yeah.
It was announced in 2007, I think they announced that they were going to make a series, and it didn't come out till 2011.
This is 2025-26, expected by.
Yeah. They were saying, though, that it's possible that it could not come out until 2027, so that it's like 3 decades from the release of the very first book. Like on an anniversary.
Yeah. They always try to line it up with an anniversary, so there's peak interest in, to generate more interest.
I mean, I don't mind them, like, taking a while with it, because it just means it's going to be better.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to, like, if you're going to put all the stuff in, you've got to make it good, It's like,
get
people
the
go, oh, I could watch, make the episodes 2 hours long, and it's like, yeah, but we're not going to do that, because halfway through you'll be falling asleep.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, there's pacing to think of and all that kind of stuff. It's just like the story drags, and then, it picks up, and then it's all exciting, and then it drags again, and then it picks up and drags. It's like, when a show's pacing's all over the place, you lose interest.
I was thinking, and this is a completely, like, different direction from what we've been talking about, so I don't know what you think about it. And I don't know that, like, HBO or Max, whatever they're called now.
It's Max now. Just Max.
I don't know if they would. I don't think it's something that they would go for, but what would you think about it being an animated series? And then we don't have to actually physically see new people playing these roles. And they could even get, like, Daniel Radcliffe, or, well, I guess their voices would be too old.
Yeah.
To play kids at this point.
Yes, yeah.
But maybe not. I mean, you have adults playing kids' voices on voiceovers and stuff all the time.
Animation is like, they're not going to go animation, I don't think.
But wouldn't it be interesting, like, to get the artist who did, like, the covers of the books, and make an animated series, like, in the style of the original art that came with the books, with the book covers? I
mean, that would be great, but I don't think they're going to do that. They're going to do live action.
Yeah, they're not going to do it, no. But I was just thinking about that, like, or they have the, I think they've released new versions of each of the books that have, illustrated versions. Yeah. We've seen those at the bookstore.
Yes,
And they're really beautiful, but you could get some really cool artists like that. And then people they could still have, like, their beloved characters in their heads, but then they have these new, like, animated characters also. Yeah. And they wouldn't kind of compete with each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you could do that.
I'd probably rather see a live action.
Because I do like, I mean, I've watched a couple of animated shows too, you know, but it's just, you know, I mean, live action is, you know.
Animated feels more like it's just for kids, I guess.
I suppose so, you know.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's what you watched when you were a kid, was animation cartoons, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely, I think they're aiming for probably an audience of all ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I am excited for it, but...
I mean, they're going to have to find a showrunner for this.
Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, oh, you know, obviously they're looking for one right now, and it's just like, I'm trying to think who would be great for that, you know? Who's obsessed with the show?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of people, but who's, like, obsessed with the show? Because with stuff like Harry Potter and, you know, like Star Wars, you've got Jon Favreau, who's a big fan of Star Wars. So he's done The Mandalorian and all that kind of stuff, and then Terry Matalas, who did Star Trek Picard, who had a good understanding of the lore and stuff, and so he gave us a great third season on that. It's kind of like, who of Harry Potter is like a fan enough that works?
Who's a big fan?
You know, who works as a showrunner, a director, you know, whatever, you know, who's going to work for that.
Oh, know? I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there. Yeah. Surely whoever's idea it was to create the show is a huge Harry Potter fan. I mean, I wonder, like, let's talk about that for a minute. Like, why do you think they decided to do this instead of just, like, giving us new Harry Potter stories?
Yeah, I don't know. It could obviously be the controversy with J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Because she hasn't written anything new, really, for Harry Potter.
I mean, just the Fantastic Beasts movies, and nobody
really liked them, no, and they failed, and everybody wanted them to fail at the end of the day.
Yeah, they did. They did, because I didn't find them that bad.
I didn't find them that bad either. I thought they were quite interesting, you know, quite a good watch.
But people wanted more Harry Potter. They didn't want new characters, you know.
They want stuff set in the Harry Potter, which it is in the Harry Potter universe, but it's like...
It's in a different time period.
It's in a different time period, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I understand that. I don't really understand why she didn't want to just, like, okay, here's what's going on with Harry and the gang in modern times. Like, if she was going to write the Fantastic Beasts stories anyway, why not just kind of give the people what they want? You know what I mean? Like, people want to see, oh, okay, you've told us that Harry and Ginny got married and they had kids, and we want to know what's going on with them, you know? Like,
yeah, that's true, you know, I mean...
They must still live in her head, like, why not just go, okay, so here's what's going on with them, you know?
And I think, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of like she must think of, oh, I should go and write, but I've got all this money now, I don't care. You know? I don't care, you know, I've got all this money now, and it's...
Money's like, the great demotivator.
Demotivator. I've got all the money. I was writing them for money. Because when she started writing the first book, she was getting fired from every job that she ever had. She was on, like, benefits and stuff.
Yeah.
She was almost homeless or something, I think.
I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember. We saw something about her life, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, it was just some kind of,
like a BBC made-for-TV or something?
Oh, no, it was that terrible Lifetime.
Was it a Lifetime thing?
Yeah.
Was it a Lifetime thing? It was a thing from over here?
Yes, it was.
Oh, I thought it was some sort of...
Yeah, it was some kind of, Sorry, there's a fly flying around.
Oh, my God.
If you
guys...
There's a fly flying around, and, you know, it's probably buzzed the mic a couple of times. But it's been
it's tormenting Dominic.
Yeah,
basically.
it's a fly. There's a fly in my ear.
So if you can hear like wild things like
whapping around and stuff.
We're waving our hands.
I mean, it's 100 degrees here, so the flies are just happy to be in the air conditioning, I think. So
yeah,
just living their fly life for the 3 days or whatever they've got it for.
Anyway.
But yeah, it was Lifetime.
Oh, God. I didn't remember that. I thought it was something we watched on, like, ITV or something.
No, it was terrible. Because I remember watching... And you know, she's like, oh, my life. And then she'd go into this woods, and then they'd be like... And she'd be like, who are you? To some kid. And he'd be like, I'm Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, she was seeing him.
It was terrible. It was like a Harry and Meghan type thing, you know, like, the fan fiction version.
Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of terrible and Lifetime and fan fiction versions of things, one thing I particularly do not want to happen, and I can't imagine, again, I'm a big fan of HBO.
Yeah.
Of their original series. So I can't imagine it happening, but I really, I hope to God that they only cast British people and not Americans doing weird British accents.
No, they'll cast British people.
Yeah, surely they will.
I mean, unless they're planning to go like, oh yeah, by the way, this is Hogwarts in America.
Yeah. Yeah, because they didn't, I'm trying to think, were there Americans in Game of Thrones doing accents?
Peter Dinklage.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, people say,
his accent was a bit weird.
It was a little bit odd.
It fit him though.
It fit his character. In, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah.
But these are all characters we know so well. That's why I'm just like, oh God, they're gonna have a hard time.
I mean, they're gonna have to find kids that are good to go. You know.
Kids that are good to
go. The kids were awkward. You know.
Yeah.
They were the first timers.
Yeah.
I mean, well.
The original kids, you mean.
Daniel Radcliffe, yeah.
Yeah.
He'd only done a couple of things before that. I think he'd been on an episode of some show.
As much as I love him.
He'd done David Copperfield.
Yeah.
But then suddenly he was like, oh yeah, by the way, now you're James Bond. You know, you're Harry Potter. You know, it's like... And it's and he's just a kid, you know. And it's like, in some ways, yeah, it's perfect. He fit the role, he looked the part and everything like that. But we got to see him grow up. And it was like in the awkward years, and you know, it's like
he was kind of a terrible actor as a kid. I'm not gonna lie.
He was. I mean, a terrible actor as a kid, yes, but when he started getting into the awkward phase, and directors would not ask him for retakes because he was Harry Potter already.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't go, okay, should we do that again, Daniel? Because you were a little bit
weird. Yeah. Oh, I haven't read that.
Yeah, no, there was a lot of people... There was a lot of times, like, the directors were just like, yeah, okay, he's Harry Potter, just say the line. Yeah, good. We got it.
Well, he said himself he can't watch, like, it's like, oh, God, it's so embarrassing, you know, like...
But, I mean, you know, at the end, I mean, he's yeah.
I think Rupert Grint and... Emma Watson were both pretty good, though, from the beginning.
I mean, yeah.
They all got better, obviously.
So, you know, you allow for, like, Daniel Radcliffe, he was the star of the film, you know, at the end of the day, you know, he was the star, Harry Potter.
Yeah.
The lead, you know.
Yeah.
So all the pressure was on him from a young age, and he handled it really well. He didn't do
They all did. I was just about to say that, like...
It's like, what?
You didn't really hear... I think Daniel Radcliffe said he had some problems with, was it
alcohol?
Drinking or
I think
something?
He was,
maybe for like a very short period of time, but he never heard of them
he
really
never
getting
let
in
it go
trouble.
to his head, and that's the worst thing about it. It's like, I'm Harry Potter.
They all seem like very well put together, like
especially for all the money they had, you know.
They seem like normal people.
Yeah.
Which is just unheard of. I thank God that they weren't Hollywood kids. Because can you imagine what disasters they would be right now as adults? Yes. Or maybe not now, but, 10 years ago.
Yeah. What I find interesting is J.K. Rowling, I think she's finalized, she's required to have creative input on any kind of project.
Oh, yeah.
With the thing. And I think that deal was fine. So she's executive producing this new thing.
I know she did that with with Warner Brothers, with the films. And I think it really helped.
Yes.
You know, I mean, obviously she's the one that's created this world. So it's like, yeah, to have her...
She has creative control over the exploitation of her work. But funnily enough, one of the execs on Max, you know, he said, some areas we need to do with JK, other areas we can go forward.
Okay.
So she signed, you know...
Well, I thought she sold the rights to Warner Brothers years ago.
Yeah, I think she did. She sold some of her rights to Warner Brothers, I think.
Because I thought I remembered them coming out saying, "Oh, so that means that we don't need J.K. Rowling to create new Harry Potter stuff." Basically, they don't need her anymore. You know?
Yeah, it's like Harry Potter. I think she has, but the Wizarding World.
Yeah.
Maybe. She's signed away for a truckload of money. I mean,
yeah.
Because, you know, it's like, and so they can go and create, Peter Jenkins in the Harry Potter universe. You know, this is just, Peter Jenkins is just a name I came up with. And, you know, he's a wizard and, you know, he does this and does that. And that's, J.K. Rowling, you don't have any say in what Peter Jenkins does.
Yeah.
And if he's bigger than Harry Potter, so, you know, that's it. You know, you don't get any money for it. Sorry. You know? It's like, you know, you don't get any control over it.
I wonder how this new series, I mean, or if it would affect we have not been still to the Wizarding World at Universal Studios. But I wonder how, because I know that's very modeled on the films.
Because really, you know, they've got the Fantastic Beasts and everything.
Yeah.
But really, the Harry Potter franchise is the big draw. She tried to create another franchise with Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
And it didn't really take off.
No.
And I mean, some of them are fans of it, but some of them are just like, nah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like an extension of the Harry Potter life, you know?
But I wonder how this new series will affect, like, the Wizarding World at, like, Universal Studios, let's say.
Yeah.
Or even just, like, general Harry Potter merch that is, like, you know, modeled after...
the films?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are we going to start to see all new... Can you imagine, like, a world where people don't know Daniel Radcliffe
Harry Potter,
as Harry Potter?
Yeah.
That'll never happen, I don't think.
I mean, you say that, but there is a world.
I think this show would have to get, like, even more popular than the films, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is that possible? I don't know. I mean television is bigger, I think, right now than
it's ever been.
Movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, people aren't going to movies as much as they used to.
No.
So, you know, there's a possibility, I suppose. And especially since HBO is Max now, and they have, like, a whole bunch of
things,
Yeah, they've got a wide variety of content available on this new platform that's going to draw in people who maybe wouldn't have subscribed to HBO.
I mean, I guess so. I mean, I'm trying to think of, like, they're trying to attract kids in.
Yeah, they didn't have any kid content, did they, HBO? So...
I mean, kids, like, you know, young teenagers, the young demographic. Mm-hmm. It's like they want to, like, this Harry Potter series to attract new fans.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, like, where it's got a legacy attached to it, it's kind of hard to do that. Yeah. Because I imagine... I don't know, let's just take, like, The Wizard of Oz. That came out in 1939, right, or something, didn't it?
Somewhere, yeah.
But it didn't really become famous until the 60s, until they started showing it on TV.
Yeah. 50s.
So imagine, like, in the 60s, you know, someone goes, let's create a TV show about The Wizard of Oz. or even the 70s, and recast Dorothy and everyone. There wouldn't have been. Everyone was like, "Yeah, let's go for it. Let's do it. It's great."
Yeah.
You're not going to hear too much people go, "Nah, nah, nah. It's not going to be like the old movie."
Yeah.
The old movie's better. No, they wouldn't.
I'm going to say you're not... Back then, maybe not.
Back then. Now.
Yeah.
As it's gained... But there hasn't been,
Oh, they've done all kinds of stuff with The Wizard of Oz over the years. They've done all sorts of...
But you never hear about it because the movie is the biggest draw.
Yeah, so it's a little bit
So it's kind of like, this new series could... I mean, it could tank, but I don't think it will.
It could, though. It could be like...
People will still watch it, like they're watching all the new Star Wars stuff. There's no... I mean, there's probably someone sitting home going, I don't like any of the new movies or any of the new shows.
But the new Star Wars stuff... Well, I'm talking about the films.
Yeah.
Well, even the shows. None of it has been a remake of the original films. None of it that's come out. Try to think of something else that's... Actually, that's as huge as Harry Potter, where they're like, "Oh, let's remake these now." Like,
what was the first one called? The Force Awakens.
I know that they're basically remakes, but they're not. Yeah. But they're not like this is a remake. Yeah, you know what I mean? They've like masked it all with new character names and everything.
Yeah.
They're not like full on. This is a remake of
A New Hope.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's like... Again, looking at the bookshelf, I'm looking at the Godfather book. I mean, can we compare the Harry Potter series to the Godfather? I don't know. In a way, could you see them like... What would happen if they were like, okay, let's remake the Godfather films into a series?
I mean, people would want that,
People would want it, you think?
I think people would love it.
Maybe.
I mean, stuff. But some people are like, "Oh, get new ideas. Come up with new ideas. Yeah. Why are you always remaking the stuff?" It's because people remember it. It's got like a built-in audience already.
I am one of those people. It's not just like,
Peter Jenkins and this thing. It's like, nah, that's boring. I don't know who Peter Jenkins is.
Nobody does.
Exactly. There you go. Peter Jenkins. He's a wizard. Oh, so he's like Harry Potter then.
Peter Jenkins. Oh no.
Peter Jenkins is going to be the biggest thing since Harry Potter. He's going to be bigger than Harry Potter.
Peter Jenkins. God. Oh gosh, I mean, I am one of those people. I'm one of those people that's like, get new material, quit remaking new material, things.
Get out of here.
The only reason I'm kind of excited for the Harry Potter update is because of the special effects from the early films. They just, watching them back, I mean, they're charming. We're nostalgic for them because we can remember going to see them when they first came out. But
the music and everything like that. But like,
if you were watching it as a first-time person, like now in 2023, like you just finished the book. You've never ever read it in your life. You just finished the book and you're excited to see this Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone movie that everybody's always gone on about. A lot of people would be like, oh,
it was dumbed down for just kids,
Yeah.
2001 kids, like who was 6 years old in 2001 or whatever,
Yeah, yes. It wasn't great,
I was like,
but it was still
15 and I watched it and I was just like, yeah.
But it was still...
I hadn't read the books, though.
It was still huge. And back then it was like exciting because we loved the books so much. Right? So we were just like, yay, the movie's out, let's go see it. But now in 2023, if you haven't ever seen it before, you're going to be like, wah, wah, So I'm excited for a remake for that reason alone, basically, for that reason alone. Just like, what can it look like now? Maybe it can be better done. Now, when you get down to the later books, I think they were kind of perfect. So I will be annoyed at them remaking those because they were very well done. I think the last 3 books probably were great. they started getting good at The Prisoner of Azkaban, and then they just got better and better every book, you know. It's like, obviously they're going to leave out stuff because look at the size of those things. You know, they can't fit all of that into a movie.
There's the Goblet of Fire, and for onwards.
Yeah.
They could, get 2 seasons out of that easily. 8 episodes. They just put stuff in.
Probably.
And, that's 8 hours. Say,
Yeah.
Each.
I don't know,
but yes.
Yeah. Do we have any other points we need to?
No. I think that's pretty much it. It's just like they're just asking how long it's been in the works and stuff,
Yeah.
And it's been a couple of years,
I haven't heard anything about like how does the original cast feel about the fact that this is coming, that the fact that they're doing this. Have you heard anything?
No, I haven't seen anything, and I mean
they're not going to say what they think.
They're not going to say what they think, but I have a feeling they're just going to be like, well, this is inevitable. I mean, ever since like, I guess Star Trek, with the original cast when they did Star Trek: The Next Generation, and the original cast were a little bit like, oh, and the fans were like, no, this is not good.
But even then, that wasn't a remake.
It wasn't a remake. But originally people thought, oh yeah, it's gonna be a remake,
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was a Next Generation set 100 years after their time, and even when it was out, and it was like, oh, they were wanting it to fail, but then eventually the original cast started making cameos on it as their characters, and they were like, oh, wait a minute,
Yeah.
This is actually giving us a bit more exposure than we had in the films and whatever,
Yeah.
So if they did that, like Harry Potter: The Next Generation, that would be good.
Yes.
I mean, I think there's too many like prequels and, there's too many prequels rather than sequels.
Well, The Fantastic Beasts was a prequel, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And I mean, prequels, that trend started in the early 2000s,
Like, just blame everything on the early 2000s.
Well, it started with Star Wars.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
And they had, like, episode 1 to 3, and everybody hated them. Mm-hmm. Everybody was like, oh, what is this? It's terrible.
It's so funny. Everybody went to see them, but everybody hated them.
Yes, everybody hated them, yeah. And
this is like these new ones, too. Everybody went to see them, and now everybody's like, oh, no, they weren't good.
And those were sequels, yeah. And those were actual sequels to in-universe anyway,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, let us know what you guys think. I know we're a little bit late talking about this. We were sort of like giving time for more information to come out, but I don't think it's going to for a while. So, are you a Harry Potter fan? Are you looking forward to this series? Or are you just going to ignore it and pretend like it doesn't exist and live in... live in the original.
Live in the original world. Yeah. Live in my Harry Potter original
world. Well, they've got
world.
the game now. It's just like...
Oh, yeah, they've got Hogwarts Legacy, but...
Oh, no!
But that's a prequel, too.
I didn't even think about that, though. They're going to have new music, are they? Or do you think they're going to use the... do-do-do-do-do-do-do?
They'll probably use some of that,
I'll
surely.
Cry. I'll cry if they don't use... The original music is what is... I mean, it's not what makes it, but it makes it at the same time.
No, they're gonna have new music, I'm sure, because they're gonna have to give someone a job,
but it's gonna fit though.
Well, I don't know. I'm not making it. Yeah. You're getting on to me about this. I'm not the one making it.
I hadn't thought about that. The soundtrack, like who owns that, and are they gonna be allowed to use that, or are we gonna get like a completely new? Oh, it's going to be creepy. That's going to be creepy.
No, it's going to be fine. You'll be fine. You'll just watch it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in. We really appreciate your support. Be sure to follow us on social media if you don't already. We are at TButty, TEABUTTY on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all the things. And we'll talk to you guys next time.
Talk to you next time, everybody.
Bye.
Boom.